There's only one way Young Money can start out the month of May, and that is with a bang. What's up, everyone? My name is Jed. Welcome back to an episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop, recapping round number 12 of the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season following the Kansas Speedway. Domination, absolute domination once again. Kyle Larson breaks a record for the most amount of laps led ever at a single race at Kansas Speedway that was originally held by Jimmie Johnson in 2011. Takes home his third win of 2025. He led 221 of 267 laps. All but 46 went to the driver of the number 5 car. He swept the stages. Complete domination and takes home his third checker flag of the season and his second win here at Kansas. Here's a look at the race results here. So Christopher Bell comes home in second place, Ryan Blaney in third, Chase Briscoe, nice one for him in fourth, and Alex Bowman the top 5. You know, someone in my comment section following the pre-race NASCAR race day previewing Kansas mentioned how I was going to regret not having Bowman in my fantasy lineup. If you're watching this, you are correct. I do regret not having him in my lineup. But, I mean, I had Larson and Briscoe in my lineup, as well as Bell. So I had first, second, fourth. I'll take that. 6 is Josh Berry. Berry started dead last. For him to rally back to 6th place, unbelievable. I did not. I mean, I knew there was speed, but to come from dead last to finish in 6th place, absolutely incredible effort from that 21 team. Look at that. Ryan Preece in 7th. 8th is Chris Buescher, my pick to win. Wasn't able to get the victory, but was able to come in with a top 10 finish. 9th, Joe Logano. And John Nemechek, he took in tires on lap 208, I believe, much later than what everyone else did. Top 10 effort. Excellent job from that number 42 team. Austin Cindric and Todd Gillen, 11th and 12th. Corey Heim in 13th. If you were to tell me that the highest 2311 driver would be Corey Heim, I would have thought you were crazy. 2311 they did not have a good day. We will talk about them in a little bit. 14th is Noah Gragson. Chase Elliott in 15th. Now, tough break for Chase Elliott because he felt like what I had was probably the closest car to Kyle Larson. Nearly got him at the end of stage 2. And it looked as though he was going to be in position because he actually did take the lead, led some laps away from Kyle Larson on a restart. However, with around 70 or so laps ago under there, 78 or so laps ago, we were coming to the final restart of the race, or before that, we had pit stops, and he did not have a good restart. He had issues on the right rear tire. That dropped him back to 12th, and he was just never able to recover there. 16th is Zane Smith, Tyler Reddick, and just a surprising 17th place run for him. 18th is Ross Chastain, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Shane McGisbergen. I tell you what, these last couple weeks, SVG, we've seen him in the top 20 every now and then, so you're starting to see him improve. Kyle Busch in 21st. He was actually making some big headways early in the race. There was some real speed in that 8 car, but, I mean, typical Kyle Busch fashion. Nowadays, seems as though that something always happens to him. On a restart, 3 drivers made contact. The 1 hit the 21, I believe. Then the 21 hit the 4. Then the 4 hit the 8 of Kyle Busch. Sent him sideways to the wall. Didn't hit the wall, but sent him sideways on the back straightaway. They weren't able to capture his audio, but Kyle Busch was about to let off a plethora of F-bombs. He was not happy. He was even calling out NASCAR, says, "Thank you, NASCAR. These cars suck." Obviously in reference to the next gen car, which we will discuss as well. But Kyle Busch did not have a good day. His teammate Austin Dillon in 22nd, Michael McDowell in 23rd, William Byron finished in 24th. He was running in 2nd place very early in the race until he had a right rear tire go down. He spun on pit road and was just never able to recover from there. Cole Custer, Carson Hosvar, he had a tire go down with 3 or so laps ago, falls back to 26. Riley Herbst 27, Ty Gibbs 28th, Jesse Love and Cody Ware the top 30. Cody Ware was involved in an accident involving him and the 99 of Daniel Suarez, as well as Ty Dillon in the 10 car. Justin Haley and Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace finishes 31st, 32nd, and 33rd as they were caught up in an accident late in the race on a restart. Yeah, 5 wide don't work at Kansas, and unfortunately takes out 3 drivers, including Bubba Wallace, who was looking to have a good run here today, and then bring up the rear. I mentioned Daniel Suarez, 34th, Ty Dillon, 35th, Denny Hamlin in 36th. He had what I thought was probably a good car, but we never really got to see the full potential of it because he had transmission issues almost right off the bat. His car had no clutch, and his team tried to do something on pit road where they would give him a push, and Hamlin would just, with all his might, kick that car into like 1st or 2nd gear. But this was, that would have worked with around 30 laps ago, but it was not going to work very early on in the race. Around stage 1, he was having these issues. Unfortunately, finally, the engine just said, you know what? The transmission, we are done. We're done for the day. And he went behind the wall. 37th is Brad Keselowski. Keselowski, oh, Lord. This guy has just had the worst season I've ever seen him have. Finally, he was going to have a good run. He drove up to second place, had an incredible restart, and was closing in, I believe, on Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott, one of the two drivers. But he was closing in, was having a great shot, at the very least, having a top 10. Gonna have a top 5, cuts a tire, blows a tire in turns 1 and 2, hits the wall, day done. And then 38th is AJ Allmendinger. Now, Allmendinger, he blew an engine, not even 20 or so laps into the race, and he said, hey, ECR engines, you guys suck. And he was having like a 2012 Kurt Busch type of rant. So yeah, not a lot of tempers, not a lot of happy drivers, except for Kyle Larson, who, like I said, is kicking off the month of May with a bang. Obviously, this is now going to begin his stages into the double with the Indy 500, to say, in the Coca-Cola 600. And this Kyle Larson, what's interesting though with Kyle Larson, and Eric Issa mentioned this on Twitter, is that he doesn't have any slumps, or at least it doesn't appear to be. He could have 1 or 2 horrible races like Darlington, and then next week, bam, win. It is like somehow with Larson, where he could have a bad race and then follows up next week with a win. And I'm not trying to do tricks on him, but it seems as though that with Larson, he's just getting better and better. Now we're starting to see in the super speedways, he's starting to get better there. With the 5 of Larson, with him and Cliff Daniels, seems as though they're just going to be more and more dangerous as the season goes along, which is good news for everyone if you are a Kyle Larson fan. If you're not, then this season may not be very fun for you. A couple of other drivers I want to mention. I know, Christopher Bell, second place. Nice run for him after it feels like the last few weeks. That 20 car has had a bit of a slump, so it's nice to see him back in the top 5. Ryan Blaney in third. I do want to give a huge shout out also to not only Josh Berry, but to Ryan Preece. To rebound after that disqualification at Talladega a couple of weeks ago. He was on the bubble. One of the drivers that are trying to fight their way into the playoffs. I believe it was 23 points below the cut line. Him finishing 8th and 7th place today, I should say, is absolutely what that 60 car needed in order to get back on track. Let's talk about some more teams. Let's talk about 2311 Racing. Like I said, they did not have a good day in the office. And I did mention on the pre-race show that ever since we went to this new Toyota body, that 2311 and Kansas, they're not as great as they once were in the old Toyota body of car. And I was very skeptical. I was skeptical on Bubba Wallace. Now, Bubba Wallace, he kind of was having a tough hill to climb from the very beginning. After the first pit stop had equipment interference, where he kind of drove into someone else's box. I believe it was Josh Berry. So he was, for the most part, for majority of the race, 1 or 2 laps down. Was finally started to be able to come back up until he got caught up in that crash with Eric Jones and I believe Justin Haley. But he did not have a good day. Tyler Reddick was maybe 10th. He was around there for the most part, but then fell off like a cliff. Riley Herbst, it's Riley Herbst, and what do you expect? But Corey Heim, 13th. His best finish already is better than Riley Herbst's best finish. Yo, Robin Hood, you got a star in your hands. Step up to the plate. Let's be honest. Again, the only reason why Riley Herbst is in that 35 ride is because of the money he brings. But if Robin Hood can step up and replace that, then 2311 has a serious team. I swear, I always forget 2311 has 3 cars because I only think Bubba and Tyler, and I forget, oh wait, Riley Herbst is in that 35 ride. But Corey Heim, I'm telling you, put Corey Heim in that 35 car, and 2311 has a real solid team on their hands. But yeah, that was like a team that really, on one side, it surprised me, but at the same time, it didn't. It's surprising to see Corey Heim ran so well. I don't know what his next race is. I have to find that out, but he will be competing in more races. I think it's Nashville. I could be wrong about that, but I'm very excited to see what else he's capable of doing in that 67 ride. But it was just it was a weird day. It was a track that Kansas, at least you would think Kansas would favor more than Toyotas, but of the top 10, 3 were Toyotas, 5 were Fords. So only 2 Chevys. So it was a weird day because everything we kind of thought we were going to see getting into this race, we did not get, except for Kyle Larson. I think everybody knew Kyle Larson was just going to go out and kill everyone. But Everything else behind was kind of, oh, okay, I didn't expect to see this, didn't expect to see that. A lot of different storylines that you are seeing coming out of this race. Let's talk about the racing. What was the racing like? The last 3 or 4 weeks, at least majority. I know there's some people that have loved the last 3 or 4 weeks of racing. I don't know how, but if you did, that's your opinion. But the last 3 or 4 weeks from the majority of NASCAR fans have not been the greatest. Whether it's super speedways like Talladega, short tracks like Bristol and Martinsville, or whatever, it hasn't been the best racing. How did Kansas feel today? Well, it was very solid. It was a very solid race. Again, even though Kyle Larson led all but 42 some odd laps, right? The issue is not the fact that Kyle Larson led all those laps. The issue would have been if cars couldn't pass, Yeah, clean air, Larson dominant car, but in this race today, drivers could pass. We saw plenty of battles that happened on from second on back. We saw Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson that they did have a good battle for a little portion of it. So it was possible to contend with Larson, although it was a very select few that could do that. But we saw a lot of drivers going back and forth throughout the field, a lot of comers and goers again. From second place on back. It wasn't like you couldn't pass. It was difficult. It was hard to pass. But again, the thing is with Kansas that makes it so much fun is the multi-groove racing. So you can run in the middle, low, top. Like I mentioned, Josh Berry, who started dead last, drove his way up to 6th. Ryan Preece started 30th, drove his way up to 7th. I mean, look at this, right? Of the top 10, half of the drivers, 5 of the 10 drivers in the top 10 qualified 17th or worse. So a lot of strategy going on. Tires didn't matter. You saw some comers and goers. Drivers could pass, but it was just everything behind Larson. So if I were to give a scale from 1 to 10, I would give this a 7. This was a solid race. Now, it's not as good as the previous Kansas races. I will say, in my opinion, that this was one of the worst Kansas races in the next gen era, or at least, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst. But that doesn't mean it was bad. It was good, but obviously not as good as the last 2 or 3 years we've seen with next gen here at Kansas. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what the real reason is, because you did see a decrease in Kansas. It was still good. I want to preface, it was still good, but you did see a step back, I do feel like. Why? I don't know. I don't know, but it was a very solid race. Again, if you just forget Larson was in the picture. So next week is technically an off week for points racing. We go all-star racing at North Wilkesboro. Again, I want to say I'm looking forward to this, but again, with this car and this package, I'm hoping for the best, but my expectations are going to be very low. Usually the opens, the heat races are usually the most exciting, but that is all I have for this episode. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. There will be an MDK race day. I do want to preface that there will be an MDK race day for the All-Star race, but it will be a bit different, so just bear with me, but there will be an All-Star race day next Sunday, so can't wait for that. I'll give you guys an update on what's happening on Wednesday, I believe, on what's happening with this channel, but until then, if you haven't already, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. Thanks for watching.